Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 2nd October 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Hardan, 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 Haribol, TRSV, nectar, nectar, nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been doing in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. In the last video, we began talking about the special qualities of several human living entities who listened to various vibrations from the three subtle bodies of their own particular complete identity. That is, when a spirit soul is in touch with the material world, this material world wraps up that particular spirit soul with four layers of a material body. The first three are made up of a particular element of the material world called ether, and so these three layers are subtle, whereas the fourth one, the gross body, is made up of four other material world's elements, that is, air, fire, water, and earth. The three subtle bodies are the first layer of causal body of intelligence, astral body of mind, and the etheric body of senses. These three bodies keep sending vibrations as transmissions to a mass of tissue in the fourth gross body, which is called brain. This mass of tissue, which is called brain, is situated embedded into the cranium of that particular gross body. This brain acts like a link between the vibrations of the three subtle bodies and the rest of the gross body. Whatever vibrations emanate out of these three subtle bodies and are transmitted to the brain are used partly or wholly by that brain, processed, chewed upon, masticated, and a juice extracted out of such emanation of messages from the subtle bodies, and that juice is used to percolate down the rest of the body so that the rest of the gross body may act accordingly. It depends on the individual living human entity, whether male or female, to choose vibrations from these subtle bodies and process them in the brain. This actually depends on various factors, namely the karma, the destiny, the surrounding, the atmosphere, the peer pressure, the company, the false ego, etc., including intelligence and experience of that particular living entity and his or her reaction to those emanations depends only on this. As for example, the reaction of a beggar, a worker, a laborer, a carpenter, a plumber, an artisan, a blacksmith, a goldsmith, a teacher, a lawyer, a scientist, a businessman, and a monk will differ according to their own choice and preferences of the messages emanating out of these vibrations and processed in their individual brains. That is the reason for the variety of behavior of various human living entities, whether male or female, in this society. Now, today we will talk about how these people react. They react according to the vibrations that they choose to masticate and chew upon so that they can react to them through the rest of the gross body. We all know that almost 100% live for around 75% of their entire life in a birth or in a lifetime, according to the emanations from the etheric body of senses. These etheric senses are sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. These are closest to the gross body because the etheric body of senses is closest to the gross body of a human living entity. As a result of which, whatever emanates out of these vibrations from the etheric body of senses is used by a living entity to live almost the complete life in a lifetime in this particular terra firma of that particular living entity. As a result of this, his or her karma and destiny is processed according to his or her reaction to the vibrations of the etheric body of senses alone. In other words, 75% of those in this society who are living as human living entities live all their life in a vegetative state alone. They come here, live, walk around in a trance like a zombie, get married, get some jobs, raise a family, and ultimately, after doing their duty and collecting some money or property in this world, depart for another birth in the same material world as a different human living entity. That is, a person who was a beggar in his past birth may become an artisan in the present, a teacher in the next, a scientist in the other, and then ultimately as a monk, rishi, maharshi, etc. in this terra firma, according to his or her cerebral evolvement in this material world. Yes, it is a fact that almost 90% of human living entities try to improve themselves birth after birth, death after death, according to their own experience, intelligence, knowledge, maturity, etc. A person seldom stumbles down eh, after every birth. Everyone wants to only improve and climb up the ladder of evolvement towards the final destination of getting self realized, liberated, and finally delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, those who are listening only to the vibrations of the etheric senses alone we have discussed now. We know that they are mundane commoners who have nothing special to achieve or gain, at least in this lifetime. It is quite possible that among them some may be interested or intrigued to listen to the vibrations of the other two subtle bodies. We will now start talking about those who listen to the vibrations of the astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions, and those who belong to that category who listen to the vibrations of the causal body of intelligence and logic. Anyway, these two categories are known as people of higher vibrations. In other words, they are swans from among the goose or the general category. They are people who are a cut above the rest in this material world. They try to wriggle out of that 75% bracket. In the 100% in this society, as mentioned before, 75% belong only to the mundane and ordinary category who listen to the vibrations of etheric senses alone. However, there are 25% remaining who are above these people. Of them, 20% listen to the astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions, and only 5% listen to the causal body of intelligence. These 25% are called people with higher vibrations. Today we will try to talk about these people. First, we will talk about the 20% because they are lower than the remaining 5%. This 20% is in between, just like the astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions is in between the etheric body of senses and the causal body of intelligence. These people who listen to the astral mind are far more gentle, refined, and evolved than the rest of the shaft of society in this world. They try to be a cut above the rest. They want to be special. They want to be creative. However, they belong only to this material world alone. They contemplate on this material world and they use their cerebral faculties and their false ego to create something out of the blue. Great businessmen, writers, singers, poets, musicians, painters, sculptors, and others extremely skilled people of the green field in commerce and marketing, and those who create something out of the other belong to this category. These people use their cerebral faculties more than those mundane people from the general category who only listen to their etheric body of senses. These people from the astral mind are more intelligent, contemplative, and they think cerebrally so that they can get new ideas, opinions, etc., which may help them in living a more select or luxurious or comfortable or creative life in this lifetime. These people don't think like the majority 75%. Musicians who write or play instruments are people who have a cerebral faculty attuned to some refined vibration in the ether which makes them create some sort of music which is very soothing to the average public in the society. So is the case of painters, sketch artists, photographers, sculptors, actors, etc. These people do not think from their etheric senses alone. They use their own cerebral faculties to improve their status or standing in this society. This is also the case with businessmen, marketing specialists, greenfield industrialists, etc., who try to create wealth in this society. They are people who are given the responsibility to generate, regulate, monitor, and control wealth in the society for the sake of the society and the government. They tend to be more responsible than those mundane guys who form a part of the 75% of the society. Now remains the 5%. These 5% are the top and who listen only to their causal body of intelligence and logic and its vibrations. Think laterally. They are totally logical. Gone in their case is a feeling for emotion for some mundane aspect in this material world. They are not that much interested in platonic love, lust, greed, anger, illusion, or false ego. These people are a cut above both those from the etheric body of senses and the astral body of mind. These people are also creative in their own way. Of these 5%, 3 still belong to the material aspects of life, while the other two, who are at the top, the cream de la cream of the society, are people who are spiritually inclined. This is because the causal body of intelligence and logic is closest to the spirit soul and hence directly or indirectly gets an inspiration from that spirit soul, which improves its faculties of its brain, its cerebral capacity, its capacity to think, contemplate, and meditate. Those who contemplate make up for scientists, philosophers, discoverers, and people who contribute to the finer things of life in this society. Great inventors, scientists, and those who spend a lot of time researching on various subjects belong to this 3% among the 5% category. Only 2% belong to the category of those who use the same cerebral faculty for their spiritual thinking and achievement. According to Swami Bhaktivedanta of ISKCON, philosophy without a religion is blind speculation. Religion without philosophy is blind fanaticism. But the right combination of philosophy and religion makes a person a spiritualist because that is what is known as spirituality. Spirituality makes a living entity think above this material world. We all know by now that the spiritual energy of a living entity or of any person is a superior energy belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the spiritual side is the superior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the material world and the material energy is God's inferior energy. When a person tries to take the spiritual path as a human, a living entity, while living in this material world, tries to think according to the spirit soul which is lying helpless and entrapped in these four layers of material body. Even here, this particular material world has opened a ventilator to peep into the spiritual side of life for every human living entity. Those who are able to peep through that ventilator while living in this material world find to their interest, amazement, and their own astonishment that there is a very big whole spiritual world outside in this universe, which is actually a superior energy of God. We all know through the autobiography of a yogi, a book written by Swami Yogananda Paramhansa, that this material world, which looks huge and infinite to us, is actually like a very tiny or small, tightly packed basket which is hanging from the belly of a very huge spiritual world. In other words, the spiritual world is several times bigger and still growing than the material world. We are all living in this material world, but this material world is kind enough to open a ventilator through which any human living entity may peep into the spirit world, which is far huger and more interesting than this own material world. That is the graciousness of this material world, despite knowing that it is the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is gracious enough to allow any living entity, which is actually a package of an individual spirit soul entrapped in four layers of material body, to look into the spirit world, get self realized as a spirit soul, get liberated from this endless cycle of birth and death, and finally get delivered into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now we are talking about the vibrations of those who belong to the higher vibrations of astral body and causal intelligence. The qualities of these people are as follows. First, they are contemplative and meditative. Second, they use their cerebral faculties more than their physical prowess. Third, they are self contained and they want to be happy living within themselves. Fourth, the third eye, which is an imaginary eye situated between the eyebrows of a human living entity, opens inside these living entities and shows them a universe within themselves. Once these guys are able to gaze at the universe within themselves, they try to remain inside that universe instead of coming out and mingling with the material world outside. Fourth, they are loners who have a lot of empathy and kindness towards the general humanity. These people love nature and they know that the nature is a part and parcel of the rest of humanity in this material world. Thus, they are as kind to animals as they are to other human beings. Then these people are not prejudiced, jealous, angry, envious, etc., and they try to be friendly with all without interfering in their daily lives. In fact, they seldom have the time to interfere in anyone else's personal life, and so these people keep out of controversies, fights, etc., with the rest of the humanity. Then these people from higher vibrations have other interests than living like animals full of lust and infatuation and listening only to the etheric body of senses. These people consider platonic love, intelligence, cerebral achievement, and karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga, etc., above or far above than listening only to the animal tendencies of average human living entities. These people, as I said, are either contemplative towards the material world or meditative towards the spiritual world. They are gentle and they see everyone alike, whether it is an animal, a human being of a low caste, or an educated and evolved Brahmin or someone from the higher caste. They do not care. As far as they are concerned, God resides inside every one of these living entities, whether it is a plant, a weed, a blade of grass, a tree, a worm, an insect, a reptile, an amphibian, a bird, a beast, or a human being. All have the super soul residing within every one of them. So, a person with higher vibration looks at everyone equally. In Hindi, there is one phrase, Kan Kan Me Bhagwan. That means God resides into every atom in this universe. According to Swami Bhakti Vedanta, God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, resides as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu in every atom in this universe to support it and to make it vibrate and work. People with higher vibrations of the logic and the causal body of intelligence are likely to think spiritually and to decide that as God is within every atom, so every atom in this universe is equally important. We have now talked about the qualities of people with higher vibrations, medium vibrations, and lower vibrations. This is all I wanted to talk in this particular video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular matter. Please give me your own expert opinions, ideas, thoughts, and views so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.